These exercises can help your painful ankle feel better fast. My name is Dr. Jared, and in most instances, we experience ankle pain for three reasons. One, lack of mobility. It's just not moving like it should. Two, lack of stability. It's not strong enough to do all the activities that we want to. Most common, number three, is some combination of both of those. It's a lack of mobility and a lack of strength. So in this video, I want to show you the best stretches and exercises to improve your ankle mobility, increase your ankle strength, and help you to feel better. Now, the first place that I always like to start is with some sort of warm-up to your ankle, some type of active range of motion activity, just to get the blood flowing, get things loosened up, get it ready for some of the exercises that are coming your way. This is how I like to do that at home. I'm going to sit with my ankle propped up. I've got a foam roller to do it. You can do it with a pillow, a towel. I just want your ankle to be clear of the ground. Now, in its simplest form, we can do ankle pumps up and down. We can go left and right. We can do clockwise circles. We can do counterclockwise circles. 20 or so reps of all of those, that definitely works. However, the way that I prefer, what I like to tell people is we're going to do ankle ABCs. And so if you pretend like your big toe is a marker and we're gonna go capital A, all the way up and down, capital B, just basically tracing the outline of the entire alphabet. All of the letters in the alphabet would be ankle ABCs. And the reason that I like this is because your ankle is a very mobile joint. It's designed to move in a lot of different directions. If you do these ankle ABCs, we're sure that we're going to hit the end ranges of motion in all of those directions. If you do it as big as you can, you're also going to feel that in the muscles up here and in your calf and in your shin as well. And so that's a great warm-up. Once or twice through the ankle ABCs is typically what I recommend. After that, let's get into a dorsiflexion mobilization. Dorsiflexion simply means pulling your toe up towards your shin, and a lot of people, this does get tight and limited, definitely something that we want to work on. And so to mobilize it, what I like to do at home is you're going to get into this tall kneeling position with your hurt ankle out in front. Now, in its very simplest form, what I tell people is you can put your hands right here on top of your knees, and then you can lunge forward just as far as you can go. I'm trying to get my knee out over my toes as far as I can, but I also want to keep this back heel in contact with the ground. So again, I'm just trying to pull basically my toe up towards my shin. I'm trying to do that a little bit further each time I get into this. So go as far as you can comfortably, hold it for 5 to 10 seconds, come out of it, and then we're gonna get into that position again. And usually about 10 to 15 repetitions on that is what I recommend. I also like to show people that you can do it in different planes of motion. I can take my knee over here towards the side a little bit. That hits it in a little bit different spot in my ankle. You can come over to the inside. Wherever you feel like you might be a little tighter, you might be a little stiffer, you can spend some time mobilizing more into that direction. But again, about 5 to 10 second holds, repeated about 10 to 15 times. Now, the primary complaint that I hear with this one, especially if you have a history of an ankle sprain, is that you get a pinch right here in the front. If that's your case, that tells me that the ankle just isn't moving the way that it's meant to. It would benefit from a type of mobilization. A simple way to do that at home is if you have one of these resistance bands. These are common in gyms. If you don't have one at home, I've got a set linked in the description down below. They're pretty inexpensive to pick up. But what I would have you do is actually put your injured foot through that band, and then we're going to get into that same position that I was just in. I want that band to be nice and low, so low on my ankle, right above my foot, right below these ankle bones. And now what that's doing is it's just putting my tibia and fibula in a little bit better spot to move on top of my ankle. And then we can try that again. And so we can get into this lunge position. I'm pushing my knee out over my toes. That band is pulling my lower leg back. And in most instances, that takes care of that pinching that you might experience in the front of your foot. And so if that's your case, give that a try. Set and rep recommendations remain the same. 5 to 10 second holds, repeat 10 to 15 times. And then the last exercise, the last stretch that I'm going to show you down here on the floor is going to be a plantar flexion stretch. And so basically we're going to point the toes down like this to stretch the whole top of the foot and the whole front of the shin. And so I'm going to get into this kneeling position with my foot tucked under me. So my toes are pointing behind me and I'm down in this kneeling position. Now what I'm going to do is slowly lower my butt down towards my heels just until I get a good stretch right through the top of that foot. If you keep some weight on your hands, that's a good way to just kind of ease into this. But if you can, if your tolerance is such that you need more of a stretch, you can actually sit down on your heels right here. If you need even more than that, the further you lean back, the more you're going to feel that stretch. Keep in mind, we're also bending the knees pretty significantly with this. If you have a pillow or a cushion that you can put underneath your knees, that tends to help. But the goal is to get that comfortable stretch right through the top of the foot and ankle. I would hold that for about 10 to 15 seconds, come back up out of it, and then repeat that 3 to 5 times. This last stretch is one of my personal favorites for the back of the calf, the Achilles, and just down into the ankle. This is going to be a standing calf stretch. I want you to get into a stagger stance like this with your injured foot back behind you, or the ankle that we're stretching is going to be the one that's behind you. In this demonstration, that's my left. Now what I want to do is put my hands on the wall and shift my weight onto the right foot. Keep your legs straight and try to keep your heel down on the ground. Don't let your heel come up off of the ground. But as you shift your weight forward, what you should feel is just a really good stretch up through the back of the calf and down into the Achilles tendon. I would hold that for 20 seconds and repeat it 3 times. That stretch stretches the gastrocnemius muscle. If we want to stretch the other muscle in the calf, what we can do is get into a very similar position, but now instead of keeping the knee straight, I want you to just unlock your knee. So introduce just a subtle bend into your knee, and then everything else looks the same. I'm going to shift the weight onto my front foot as I push through my hands, and you should feel that in a different position. A lot of people feel that directly down in that Achilles tendon. Some people will get that pinch through the front of the ankle, which should be minimized if we did some of those band mobilizations from the last segment that I shot. But you're going to get into this comfortable calf stretch position, and I want you to also hold that one for 20 seconds and repeat 3 times. Now let's shift our focus away from range of motion and mobility into strength and stability. And I've got 2 great exercises that you can do at home for that. But before we jump in, I just have to know, have you tried the exercises so far? How are we doing? How's the ankle feeling? Comment your experience down below. I always love to hear from you. Okay, when it comes to ankle strength, my personal favorite exercises require some resistance band, and there's a lot of different things that you can do with that. But for this video, I wanted to keep it strictly to home environment only. If you don't have resistance band available, these are the ankle strengthening exercises that I would recommend for you. We're going to start with some heel raises. Really simply, the first step to this would be to stand flat on the ground. Lift your heels off of the ground, lift up onto your toes, hold for a couple of seconds, slowly return back down to the starting position. That's where we typically start. As soon as you can get in about 3 sets of about 15 to 20 reps, that tells me that we're probably ready for the next step. Most people progress to the next step, if not immediately, pretty quickly. So the next step would be up on a stair. This is where I would encourage you to get to as quick as you can. So I'm going to put the balls of my feet up on a stair, and you see immediately I'm just going through a much greater range of motion. In fact, this is a really great stretch to even just hang out right here. And then the heel raises, same thing. I'm going to lift my heels up as high as I can. Heels are above the stair. Slowly lower back down to that bottom position, heels below the stair. The primary mistake that I see with heel raises is people will kind of bounce right here in the middle of the range of motion, thinking that's effective. What I want you to try to emphasize is going through full, complete range of motion with this. So I'm gonna go all the way up. I'm gonna take about 3 seconds to lower all the way down. I want you to count to 2 seconds down here, get a nice stretch. and then come back up to the starting position again. That's what the full range of motion heel raise looks like. And again, 3 sets of about 20 reps is a great number to shoot for. And then finally, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, your ankle is a very mobile joint, and we need to try to strengthen through all of those different ranges of motion. If you don't have any bands or equipment at home, the lateral ankle walk is my go-to for that. And so you're gonna stand with your feet about hip width apart, both toes come up, and then pivot over to one direction, and now heels come up, pivot to that same direction, and then we're just going to repeat this little dance over to the side right here. This tends to work best if you have socks on a hardwood or a tile floor, or even just socks in general. It is kind of hard to demonstrate here on my rubber floor with shoes on, but what I want you to try to do is keep your hips forward as much as possible. I don't want you to pivot your hips side to side. As much of that motion as possible should be coming right from your ankles. And usually what I'll do is I'll recommend about 10 steps in one direction and then about 10 steps in the other direction, and you can repeat that about 3 to 5 times. I hope these help your ankle to feel amazing, and thank you so much for watching.